in this course we will be going to learn the understanding of Fetch API and the features about the Fetch API of JavaScript, and we will be going to use the API to fetch the data from the server and integrate that data in our HTML. So let's start. We need to get data from server to show on the browser. So in that scenario, while using JavaScript, we need to use the fetch API of JavaScript. So there are four methods to integrate fetch API with the server. The first one is the get, then post, then put, and then we have the delete method in fetch API. The fetch API uses to send our HTTP request to the server and wait for the response from the server, and then we receive the data to our browser, and then we can use anything with that data. So we will be going to use this in this tutorial. So let's start. First I need to create a folder for this project. I'm going to create a folder on my desktop here, and we'll rename it as fetch, and then I will open it in my VS Code editor. It is open now. So first I will create a JavaScript file into that directory and name it as scripts.js. So we will be going to see how the fetch API do work. Then we will also integrate the API data with the HTML that we will be going to do later. So fetch API uses four interfaces. The first one is the fetch, to fetch data from any URL. Then there is header, which we can use to send our content type or the token which we are going to send authentication for any specific API. And the third one is request. The request is the data what we are going to send to the server. And then the fourth one is the response. Response is the JSON. We can see that could be a JSON data that we have received from the server. So the fetch API is a global scope for our web browser. When we use fetch of JavaScript, then the browser would automatically understand that we need to send a request to any specific URL and get the response from there. So we will see how we can write the fetch API while sending data to the server. We need to write just only fetch, and there will be a URL like something, some website URL. I am just writing here for the example purpose only. Then we will have the then, and in then we are having the response, where we can console the response of our API request. And then we are having the catch. We are getting the error of our API if there is any. This is the structure of the fetch API which we are going to use in this tutorial. So I am just removing this part and write the live API request here. So I will create a variable here, const URL and write the URL or API URL here. So we are already having the sample API URLs available on internet, which we are going to use in this tutorial. So let's see how we can use those APIs. So when you go this URL, I will also place this URL in the description of the video. We can see that we are having the JSON response of the users here, which we can use in our application. So I just need to copy this URL here from here and need to place it here. So now we are going to use the data of this URL in our fetch API. So we will be going to use fetch, then URL, and the same thing that we already asked before, that in the structure of fetch URL, then response and write the response here, and then catch and error if there is any, and console the error here. So now we will check what will be the output of this code. So we need to create one more file in our directory, which is called index.html, and here we will create the HTML of our application. And here I will add the JavaScript files of this directory. So it is on the same path, so I just need to write scripts.js here. So I am just writing some sample code to check if everything is working. So now I need to open this HTML file in the browser. So here is our directory. I just need to open this. Here you can see that it is showing the hello world, and it will also execute our API here if we will go in the inspect section and go in network tab, and we just need to reload this page, and we can see that our fetch API is hitting the server, and here you can see that it is hitting the request URL, the same URL which we have already mentioned in the fetch first parameter of fetch, which is the URL of this. So you can see that it is hitting this URL, and the method is get, and the status code is 200, and you also can see in the response it is showing the same data that is showing here. So like this we can handle the fetch request of JavaScript. You also can see in the console we will also get the data. We just need to enter JSON function here, because the API is returning the JSON data, so we need to convert it into JSON. So now you can see that all the JSON data is showing here. So what we will do, that we can use another then, and the data will show here in the data of response. So response.json. So now it will go to the next step of the fetch, which is again the then now we will get the data from here. We will reload the page, and we can see that we are getting the API data in in the data response of next promise. So you can see we are getting the response of the API. Now we will see that if it is going in errors or error statement or not. So we will just rename the API here users1, and the response should return an error here. So we will check for that too. We are going into the network tab, and now you can see that it does return the status code 404, as this API does not exist there on their server. So that's why it is returning 404, and the response is empty here. And you also can see that it is returning 404 on line 3, and on line 8 it does return empty. Okay, because the catch does work only when the request return any error, but the API is not returning an error, but saying that this page does not exist. So that's why it is not going in the catch. So we need to remove this from here. Now we will change the URL. Now I think this will work now. Yes, now you can see it is showing the error at line number 11, which is our console of error. So you can see that it is saying the type error, failed to fetch at scripts.js. So because this URL does not exist, that's why it drop into the catch statement of the fetch. So here we can use that if there is any error, so we can handle it from the catch of fetch statement. So now we will be going to integrate this API response to our HTML. So I'm going to integrate here. I will just integrate Bootstrap for the look and feel of the HTML page. So here you can add all these tags in the head section, and this script in the body before closing body tag. So now we will be going to have all the features of Bootstrap in our application. So we will create a table here. Search for the table. So we will check the table layout of the Bootstrap. So we can use this table style and replace it with the hello world, which we have written for the testing purpose only. So here inside the table we will have the t head, so here we will write the heading of the table which we can get from we need to change the URL so that it should start working. So here we can see we are having ID, name, username, email, address and phone, and all the details of user are we do have in this API. So we will use the ID first. id. Then we will use name, then email, then we will use address, and company name. These are all the details we are going to use here. And we will create the tbody, and now we will append the API data into this table structure through our fetch API. So here we can see that we are having our data here. So we will go through with each data and append it into the table body there. So how we can do this? We need to use for data of user of data, and we will check if the user is getting into that loop or not. Yes, it is coming in the loop. So now we can easily append all that data to the table, to this table. So what we will be going to do is create a tr for the body of the table. So how we can let tr equal to document dot create element, then write tr to create 1 2 3 4 5 td for this tr. So let user id equal to document dot create element, and the td, let user name to document dot create element, let user email document dot create element td, let user address document dot create element td, and let user company document dot create element td. So all 5 tds are created for the table. We will insert the data into the elements. First we will create the node for the user data, document dot create node, and we'll pass the data dot id into that, then let name equal to document create text node data dot, we need to check what we are using. We will expand it. I am getting id and name, data dot name, then let email equal to document dot create text node data dot email. I think the email is also there. Email is there. Then we are having address document dot create node text create text node data dot address dot street name. We will take the street name there. Address dot street name. Street address dot street, and we will have the company document dot create text node data dot company dot name. Now we will append all this data to the TDs, and then append all those TDs into TR. We will append data into the TD. Dot append child and ID, username dot append child name, user email dot append child email, user address dot append child address, user company append child company, and TR, then TR dot append child user ID, TR dot append child user name, TR dot append child user email, TR dot append child user address, TR dot append child user company, and then need to get the T body. So we will get T body document dot get elements by name and T body, then T body equal to T body, we will take the first element there. Then we will append T body dot append child TR. Cannot read property of undefined reading street. We have data dot address. Oh, we have written it the wrong name. We need to use the user here instead of data. So change all the data with user. Now we will check. Wrong. I need to use the elements by tag name here. So now we can see that we are having all the data in our table. So this is the usage of the fetch API in JavaScript. Here you can see that we are having all the data that we are getting from the API. The first one is ID1 and the name is Lean Graham and the email is this. So we are having the right data, and we will check about the 10th number of row here. It is Clementina. So data is correct as per the API. So here you can see that the usage of fetch API of JavaScript. I hope you enjoyed the video. So thanks for watching.